Hello viewers! Today we are going to discuss about fusions, overlapping, and interrelated elements, as well as elements of visual arts. Enjoy watching! Art fusion. Art fusion occurs when an artist from any field, music, literature, and architecture, collaborates with a brand of any kind of product, service, and fashion to create the product, service, and piece for the benefit of both parties. History and examples. Art fusion proliferated over the past decade, but examples of collaborations date back as far as the 1930s. Fine artists and fashion designers were the first to engage in this new breed of partnership, the first high-profile union in 1933. Fusion benefits artists. Art has a profound impact on society's capacity to grow and evolve and embrace change. It is the foreseer and the destroyer of the status quo. Artists have voices that must be heard to nurture our society's soul, something art fusion can amplify. How art fusion benefits society. Unlike most traditional marketing, art fusion aims to succeed at producing something of value to society. It gives voice to artists, breathes life into brands, and infuses our everyday lives with interesting ideas that nourish our deeper sense of longing. Overlapping. Overlapping in art is the placement of objects over one another in order to create the illusion of depth. Painting is a two-dimensional artistic expression. It has length and width but no depth. Interrelated elements. This is the formative assessment, which begins with feedback that feeds forward, a student goal setting, a student self-assessment, a strategic teacher questioning, an engaged student questioning, and shared learning targets and criteria for success. Graffiti, form of visual communication, usually illegal, involving the unauthorized marking of public space by an individual or group. Although the common image of graffiti is a stylistic symbol or phrase spray painted on a wall by a member of a street gang. Performance poetry. A poetry that is specifically composed for or during performance before an audience. Poetry readings featured poets reading the printed books for a live audience. Performance poets use a different style of writing poetry that is less conducive print for their oral presentations. Performance art. A time-based art form that typically features a live presentation to an audience or to onlookers, as on a street, and draws on such arts as acting, poetry, music, dance, and painting. Digital art. The first use of the term digital art was in the early 1980s when the computer engineers devised the Paint program, which was used by the pioneering digital artist Harold Cohen. This became known as the AARON, a robotic machine designed to make large drawings on the sheets of paper placed on the floor. The visual elements. The visual elements are line, shape, tone, color, pattern, texture, form. They are the building blocks of composition in art. The visual elements have a relationship to one another. Most images begin their life as line drawings. Lines cross over one another to form shapes. Shapes can be filled with tone and color or repeated to create pattern. A shape may be rendered with a rough surface to create the texture. A shape may be projected into 3 dimensions to create form. Visual elements. Line. Line is the foundation of all drawing. It is the first and most versatile of the visual elements of art. Line is an artwork that can be used in many different ways. It can be used to suggest shape, pattern, form, structure, growth, depth, distance, rhythm, movement, and a range of emotions. We have a psychological response to the different types of lines. Curved lines suggest comfort and ease. Horizontal lines suggest distance and calm. Vertical lines suggest height and strength. Jagged lines suggest turmoil and anxiety. The way we draw a line can convey different expressive qualities. Freehand lines can express the personal energy and mood of an artist. Mechanical lines can express a rigid control. Continuous lines can lead the eye in a certain direction. Broken lines can express the ephemeral or insubstantial. Thick lines can express strength. Thin lines can express delicacy. The visual elements shape. Shape can be natural or man-made, regular or irregular, flat, two-dimensional, or solid, three-dimensional, representational or abstract, geometric or organic, transparent or opaque, positive or negative, decorative or symbolic, colored, patterned, or textured. The behavior of shapes. Shapes can be used to control your feelings in the composition of an artwork. Squares and rectangles can portray strength and stability. Circles and ellipses can represent continuous movement. Triangles can lead the eye in an upward movement. Inverted triangles can create a sense of imbalance and tension. Tone can be used to create contrast of light and dark, to create the illusion of form, to create the dramatic or tranquil atmosphere, to create a sense of depth and distance, to create the rhythm or pattern within a composition. The visual elements color. Color is the visual element that has the strongest effect in our emotions. We use color to create the mood or atmosphere of an artwork. There are many different approaches to the use of color. Color is light, color is tone, color is pattern, color is form, color is symbol, color is movement, color is harmony, color is contrast, and color is mood. Visual elements pattern. Pattern is made by repeating or echoing the elements of an artwork to communicate a sense of balance, harmony, contrast, rhythm, or movement. Pattern in art is often based on the inspiration we get from observing the natural patterns that occur in nature. We can see these in the shape of a leaf and branches of a tree, the structure of a crystal, the spiral of a shell, the symmetry of a snowflake, and the camouflage of signaling patterns on animals, fish, and insects. Man-made pattern. Pattern in art is used for both structural and decorative purposes. For example, an artist may plan the basic structure of an artwork by creating a compositional pattern of lines and shapes. Within that composition, he or she may develop its visual elements to create a more decorative pattern of color, tone, and texture across the work. The visual elements texture. Texture is the surface quality of an artwork, the roughness or smoothness of the material from which it is made. We experience texture in two ways: optically through sight, and physically through touch. Optical texture. An artist may use his or her skillful painting technique to create the illusion of texture. Physical texture. An artist may paint with expressive brushstrokes whose texture conveys the physical and emotional energy of both the artist and his or her subject. Ephemeral texture. This is the third category of textures whose fleeting forms are subject to change, like clouds, smoke, flames, bubbles, and liquids. The visual element's form. Form is the physical volume of a shape and the space that it occupies. Form can be representational or abstract. Form generally refers to sculpture, 3D design, and architecture, but also relate to the illusion of 3D on a 2D surface. Three-dimensional form can be modeled, added from, carved, subtracted from, and constructed, built from. It can be created from sculptural materials like clay, wax, plaster, wood, stone, concrete, cast, and constructed metals, plastics, resins, glass, and mixed media. Two-dimensional form constructs the illusion of 3D in 2D media by a skillful manipulation of the visual elements.